This is part 3 of my straight wall cartridges. Today I'm going to be trying out pistol calibers. Our first one here is a Henry Big Boy 327 Federal Magnum. Our next one is a Marlin 1894 357 Magnum. The next one is a Henry Big Boy 41 Remington Magnum. And the next one is a Marlin 1894 44 Remington Magnum. And last is a Marlin 1894 45 Colt. Our ammunition we'll be using today, the Federal 327 Federal Magnum hammer down 127 grain bullet with an advertised muzzle velocity of 1650 feet per second. All the other ammunition will be using this Hornady LEVERevolution FTX ammunition. Our 357 Magnum 140 grain FTX bullet with an advertised muzzle velocity of 1,440 feet per second. Our 41 Remington Magnum 190 grain FTX bullet with an advertised muzzle velocity of 1,620 feet per second. Our 44 Remington Magnum 225 grain FTX bullet with an advertised velocity of 1,410 feet per second. And our 45 Colt 225 grain FTX bullet with an advertised muzzle velocity of 950 feet per second. All shooting will be done at 100 yards, so let's get to it and see how this ammunition performs. Henry Big Boy 327 Federal Magnum 20-inch barrel, a little 1.5 to 4 power scope. This Federal hammer down 127 grain ammunition with an advertised muzzle velocity of 1,650 feet per second. .327 Federal Magnum, 127 grain Federal hammer down ammunition, 100-yard group. Each one of these squares is 1 inch. There's my aiming point. I was pulling to the right a little bit. You decide if this is something you like or you need something different. Let's move on now to the ballistic gel and pork ribs. Here's our velocities from our 327 Federal Magnum. Our first shot was 1,597.6 feet per second. Our second shot was 1,590.2 feet per second. Our third shot was 1,574.0 feet per second. Our average was 1,587.3 feet per second. Bullet traveled about 9.5 inches, came out of the side of the block. We hit a bone, that's where it went in. There's the back side of it. 327 Federal Magnum. Decide if this is something you like or you need something different. Well, I shot another one off camera just to see if I could catch the bullet, and I did. We hit a bone. It went plumb through the 16-inch block of ballistic gel. The bullet was laying here on the back side. That's what it looks like. 127 grain Federal hammer down out of a 327 Federal Magnum. Now, let's move on to a 357 Magnum and see what we get. Marlin 1894 357 Magnum, 18.5 inch barrel. Got a little 1 to 4 power scope on it. Shoot these Hornady LEVERevolution 357 Magnum 140 grain FTX. Advertised muzzle velocity 1,440 feet per second. Let's see how this one performs. 357 Magnum, Hornady 140 grain LEVERevolutions. Remember, every one of these is 1 inch square. That's my aiming point. I'm pulling real bad, but this is about as good a group as I've ever shot that ammunition out of that little rifle. And here's our data from our 357 Magnum 140 grain Hornadys. Our first shot was 1,822 feet per second. Our second shot was 1,780.5 feet per second. Our third shot was 1,788.9 feet per second. And our average was 1,797.1 feet per second. Bullet went in about 6 inches and the jacket separated. Core stopped at about 9 inches. I shot a little low down here. I did impact the bone and it blew that bullet all to pieces. Well, there you have it. 140 grain Hornady FTX LEVERevolution 357 Magnum. See if this is something you like or you need something better. Now let's move on to a 41 Magnum and see what we get. Henry Big Boy, 41 Remington Magnum, another little 1-to-4 power scope, 20-inch barrel. Be shooting these Hornady LEVERevolution 190 grain FTX ammunition. Advertised velocity is 1,620 feet per second. Let's see how this one performs. .41 Remington Magnum, 100 yards, 190 grain Federal FTX bullets. My aiming point here, not a bad little group. Now let's move on to ballistic gel in the port rib and see if this bullet holds together better than the 357 Magnum did. And here's our data for our 41 Remington Magnum 190 grain Hornady FTX bullet. Our first shot was 1,668.4 feet per second. Our second shot was 1,681.7 feet per second. Our third shot was 1,690.0 feet per second. Our average velocity was 1,680 feet per second. Well, after I finally managed to hit a bone, our bullet traveled down, and roughly 25 inches came out the side of the block of gel. Here's the jacket off of it. That's my first shot right there. It traveled about 29 inches. I fired 4 shots trying to hit a bone. I didn't think it was fair to shoot this and it not hit a bone like the 327 Federal did and the 357 Magnum. But 41 Remington Magnum, that's something you like or something better? Now let's move on to a 44 Magnum and see what we get. Got another Marlin 1894. This one's in 44 Remington Magnum. 20-inch barrel. Another little 1-to-4 power scope. Again, going to be shooting these Hornady LEVERevolutions 225 grain FTX ammunition with an advertised muzzle velocity of 1,410 feet per second. Let's see how this one performs. 44 Remington Magnum, Hornady LEVERevolution FTX, 100 yards. This group is what that rifle normally shoots with that ammunition. These duct tape marks here, I had to resight the rifle in the best I could because I don't usually shoot that ammunition out of that rifle. Anyway, let's move over to the ballistic gel and pork ribs and see if we can impact the bone and see what that bullet will do. And here's our data from 225 grain Hornady 44 Remington Magnum. Our first shot was 1,794.2 feet per second. Our second shot was 1,817.2 feet per second. Our third shot was 1,852.2 feet per second, with our average velocity of 1,821.2 feet per second. .225 grain Hornady FTX LEVERevolution 44 Remington Magnum traveled down to about 9 inches and came out the side of the block. There's the part of that red tip that's in that bullet. It completely destroyed a bone when it hit. Let's see if this is something you like or you need something different. And last but not least, 45 Colt, 1894 Marlin Cowboy. This one has a 24-inch barrel. Be shooting it with iron sights. Again, we're going to be shooting the Hornady LEVERevolution. This is 45 Colt, 225 grain FTX bullet in it. Advertised velocity of 950 feet per second. So don't laugh at me too bad with these iron sights at 100 yards. Let's see what happens. .45 Colt, 225 grain Hornady FTX. This is about as good as I do with iron sights anymore off that rifle. That was me pulling that one pretty hard. Let's move on to the ballistic gel and pork ribs. See if I can hit a bone and see what this little 45 Colt bullet will do. And here's our data for our 225 grain Hornady 45 Colt. Our first shot was 1,110.7 feet per second. Our second shot was 1,118.0 feet per second. Our third shot was 1,103.8 feet per second. Our average velocity was 1,110.8 feet per second. First shot, I hit low. It was kipped out under the bottom of the table. My second shot went in and stopped. That's it right there. What is that? About 16.5 inches. But I went right in between two rib bones. So I shot again, and I just clipped the bone. There's part of the tip. It won't come out the side of the block after it went in 3 inches. I did manage to find the jacket laying on the ground here beside it. 45 Colt. You decide if that's something you want to deer hunt with or you need something different. And here's our data from all of our shooting today. Our Federal 327, 127 grain, hammer down, had an advertised velocity of 1,650 feet per second. Our average was 1,587 feet per second. That's negative 63 feet per second. That's not too bad. Our 357 Magnum, 140 grain Hornady FTX ammunition had an advertised velocity of 1,440 feet per second. Our average was 1,797 feet per second, which is a plus of 357 feet per second. What a coincidence. Our 41 Remington Magnum, 190 grain Hornady FTX, had an advertised velocity of 1,620 feet per second. Our average was 1,680 feet per second with a gain of 60 feet per second. That's not too bad. Our 44 Remington Magnum, 225 grain Hornady FTX bullet had an advertised velocity of 1,410 feet per second. Our average was 1,821 feet per second. That's gaining 411 feet per second. That's pretty good. Our 45 Colt, 225 grain Hornady FTX, had an advertised velocity of 950 feet per second. Our average was 1,110 feet per second. And here's the bullets I did manage to recover. Here's the .327 Federal Magnum, 127 grain hammer down that I shot off camera to try to hit a piece of bone. It held together very well. Here's the Hornady FTX 357 Magnum that hit bone. The jacket and the core came apart. Here's our 41 Magnum. This is the bullet that didn't hit bone, but it stopped in the second block of ballistic gel. This is the jacket from the one that did impact bone. It separated from the lead core and came all to pieces. You stand that back up. Here's our 45 Colt. This is the bullet that stopped in the second block of gel. It didn't hit bone, but it mushroomed out nice. This is the jacket from the 45 Colt that did hit bone, that separated from the lead core and the jacket. Whichever one of these that you think you want to hunt with this fall, your state allows it for straight wall cartridge hunting. I'm sorry I couldn't find a bullet for the 44 Magnum to look at, but whichever one of these you think is best for you, I'll let you decide. Hey, thank y'all for watching and have a great day.